Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of Wolf Pack. It was called After Party. And as it begins, the kids at the pool party are still hiding from the wolf, who apparently is hanging out near the pool. And they can see it as they're looking outside, which is weird, because why isn't it just going in there if it wants to harm some of those kids? It's kind of weird. Some of the kids are feeling the effects of the mushrooms they took, as Everett explains to them that it's a 7-foot creature that he stops short of saying is a werewolf, even when he's urged to say it by the quote asshole kid that also saw it and instead says that it's a bear. Meanwhile, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character lies on the phone and says that the guard never came back after he went for the key at the end of last week's episode, before looking at her flashlight and realizing that there's blood on it because, yeah, she killed him with it. Cyrus, Harlan's love interest, goes outside of the house to look for a kid who seems to have gone missing. A kid at the party who previously in this episode told Everett that he couldn't remember his name, but whom no one else seems to remember seeing there. And Harlan goes with Cyrus. Phoebe talks with Blake about Blake ghosting her and the rift between them. Apparently, Blake's dad caught her mom cheating via cell phone, and it turned her life upside down, which is why she doesn't like phones. The cops show up at the party looking for Cyrus, and Harlan and Luna's dad also shows up with Sarah Michelle Gellar's character because he wants to collect Harlan and Luna. Harlan and Cyrus smooch outside in the woods when the wolf shows up, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's character gets the drop on it with her gun, and she fires warning shots before telling it that she's not there to hurt it, though she admits she doesn't know how much of what she's saying it understands. She tells it that she can help bring it back, that it doesn't have to stay that way, that she can help it control its situation. And it seemed receptive to this, which it indicated by saying, "Help me," which is interesting. But just then, the cops come into the woods, and it runs from that specific location only to find Harlan and Luna's dad nearby, at which point it goes to attack him, and he shoots it. Harlan and Cyrus have a conversation wherein it seems that Harlan suspects that Cyrus might have started the fire, but he said he had no hand in it. When Everett returns home, he has a conversation with his father, and he silently realizes that ever since he's become a werewolf, he doesn't seem to need his anxiety medication anymore. Apparently, his dad also takes a lot of pills for different stuff, and he says some cryptic stuff about what would happen if he stopped taking his medication, and he urges Everett to continue taking his, which Everett agrees to do before going to the bathroom and spitting out his pill. Everett then goes to visit Blake, and she volunteers to tell him why she doesn't have a phone, but he says she doesn't have to tell him. And then she says she'll get a phone if he really wants her to have one, which he kind of said that he did last episode. But then he says he doesn't need a phone to find her, and they smooch. A lot of smooching going on. Speaking of which, Harlan, meanwhile, is cozying up to Cyrus in what looked like a pair of side-by-side sleeping bags in Harlan's barn. Back at the house, the party house, Phoebe goes for a swim and ends up encountering the werewolf. And then, as the quote asshole kid is lying on the couch in the party house looking up, he sees the werewolf drag her body across the glass ceiling or roof. Sarah Michelle Gellar's character lies to Harlan and Luna's father, saying that what she saw was just a wild animal. And I think he knows she's lying, but he doesn't say he knows she's lying, and it's all very cloak and dagger. Our wolf pack then has a conversation with Cyrus about how the voice on the phone called him too, to tell him that he knew how his father died. He tells them that from what he knows, a wolf killed his father and the hotshot crew in the fire 17 years ago, and that he knows this because someone survived. So they go to visit the guy. He denies ever telling Cyrus anything about a wolf. Garrett, who's Harlan and Luna's dad, tells his lady friend, his partner, I guess, about how he winged the werewolf, and that the silver bullet he used definitely had an effect. And he goes on to say that what happened changes everything. Next, our wolf pack seems to convince the guy that Cyrus told them about to tell them what happened. And apparently, he did indeed see a giant gray wolf at the time when the hotshot crew died. Apparently, the guy shot the wolf because it was blocking their path out of the fire, but it went down and got right back up, at which point they all shot at it and hit it with between 40 and 60 bullets, but it still kept getting back up. Cyrus's dad then put a bullet right between its eyes, but it was still breathing, so they dragged it into the fire, at which point it kind of caught fire but didn't really burn, and instead transformed into a bipedal wolf, aka a werewolf, with glowing eyes before a 50-foot oak tree came down on it. He also tells them that it wasn't the only wolf they saw, and Everett draws the conclusion that the wolf was protecting its pack. At this point, the guy tells him that they saw the werewolves mate, although they didn't see any cubs. Later, the kids conclude from this that whoever started the fire did it in order to bring out the werewolf. Harlan finds out that his adoptive dad, again, Garrett, turned Cyrus into the police, and after punching him, goes all wolf on him, along with the rest of the pack. But Garrett is able to talk him down, and the rest of them down, I guess, before his partner kills them by using a technique of calling the wolf by its given name to help it remember who it is. The father then discloses that when he shot the wolf, it briefly turned back into the kid at the party that had gone missing, who couldn't remember his name, although Everett seems to know that his name is Baron. And they all realize that while Baron might be part of the pack, he isn't Harlan and Luna's wolf father. And that's where the episode ended. So I thought this was a good episode. It really moved the plot forward. Some stuff is really going down. And you could say that that started with Sarah Michelle Gellar last week when she clocked the guard and killed him, because that was the first sort of indication that not everything is as it seems. Well, not the first indication, but an undeniable indication that everything is not what it seems and that she knows more than she's telling people. And she clearly does, based on what happened in this episode. I had kind of written the show off after the first episode in terms of thinking it was ever going to be any good, but I kept with it because it's only 8 episodes and I wanted to see what they did with it. And I'm a Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. And I have to say, the last few episodes, it's been pretty good. It's turned into a good YA werewolf drama. There's some stuff about it that's unique, that doesn't really fit in with traditional werewolf lore, but I'm kind of liking it. And this week we got to see all the kids go wolf, pretty much. Like they had the glowing eyes and the teeth, although they didn't grow fur and all that stuff. But that was really cool. And, you know, we now know that the werewolf is one of the kids, or is a kid. And they're just doing a good job of keeping the mystery going, letting out little bits at a time. And we're seeing the core characters come together, where, you know, in the first few episodes, they were kind of only loosely together and didn't really like each other, but they're kind of gelling now and, you know, coalescing around a sort of mission. I also like the fact that Blake and Everett are hooking up. I think he's a good kid and she's a good kid, and I like they're getting together. I think it's cool. I was a little bummed for poor Phoebe. She's kind of a jerk, but I don't think she deserved to be killed. But she's kind of dead now. So nothing we can do about that. Although I don't know why the werewolf would have killed her, why that other kid would have killed her. I don't know. Very strange. It's almost like the kid doesn't seem to realize he's a werewolf. And if he can turn back and be a kid, then why does Sarah Michelle Gellar think he needs help? I don't know. It's confusing. I think the next 2 episodes are gonna reveal a little bit more, although I suspect they won't reveal everything because they're gonna want to keep us on the edge of our seats for a potential season 2. And I will, of course, be back to review those once they're released. I'm gonna get out of here for now. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.